नमस्कार दोस्तों, आप सभी का स्वागत है आपके अपने YouTube चैनल 02 Zenith में। यहाँ आपको IGNOU के लेटेस्ट असाइनमेंट का सल्यूशन दिया जाएगा। लेटेस्ट नोटिफिकेशंस पाने के लिए सब्सक्राइब करें। You'll get link of solved assignment PDF in video description. Kindly subscribe our channel for getting more solved assignments. Assignment I. 1. Discuss the administration under the Guptas. 20 marks bata 500 words. Answer. The administrative system of the Gupta Empire marked a shift from the highly centralized Mauryan model to a more decentralized and hierarchical structure. The Guptas established a vast empire and maintained control through a well-organized bureaucracy and a network of local self-governing bodies. Central administration. The king was the pinnacle of the administration, adopting grand titles like Maharaja Adhiraja and Pambatarak. Although he held supreme executive, judicial, and military powers, his authority was not absolute. He was assisted by a council of ministers, Mantri Prishad. Key central officials included the Kumaramatyas, the most important class of officers who served as the backbone of the administration. Other high officials were the Mahadandanaka, Chief Justice, and Sandhi Vigrahika, Minister of War and Peace. Provincial and district administration. The empire was divided into provinces known as bhuktis, governed by officials called uparikas, often princes or high-ranking nobles. Provinces were further subdivided into districts called Vishayas, managed by a Vishapti. A unique feature of the Gupta district administration was the involvement of local representatives. The Vishapti was assisted by a council, Adhisthana Adhikrana, comprising the Nagrisresthi, chief of the city guild, Sarthvaha, leader of the merchant caravans, Prathmakulika, chief artisan, and Prathma Kayastha, chief scribe. Local and village administration. At the lowest level was the village, Gram, headed by a Gramika or Mehtar. Village elders, Panchmandal or Gram Janpada, played a vital role in local decision-making and land transactions. This reflected a high degree of local autonomy. Land and revenue. Land revenue was the primary source of state income, usually ranging from 1/4 to 1/6 of the produce. The state maintained elaborate records of land ownership and transfers. However, the Gupta period saw an increase in land grants to Brahmins and temples, Agraharas, which gradually led to the emergence of administrative rights for the grantees and a more feudalist structure. Conclusion. Gupta administration was a blend of monarchical power and local participation. By delegating authority to provincial heads and local councils, the Guptas ensured a stable and efficient governance system that supported the golden age of their era. Though, write an essay on the growth of art and architecture between 300 CE and 1206 CE. 20 marks bata 500 words. Answer. The period between 300 CE and 1206 CE is considered one of the most creative phases in Indian history. It witnessed the transition from rock-cut caves to elaborate structural temples and the refinement of various regional styles in sculpture and painting. The Gupta influence, 300 CE, 600 CE. Gupta art is characterized by balance, harmony, and a focus on spiritual expression. In architecture, this period saw the birth of the structural Hindu temple. Early examples include the Dashwatara temple at Deoghar and the brick temple at Bhitargaon. In sculpture, the Sarnath school of art reached its zenith, producing the famous Preaching Buddha, which perfectly captures a serene, meditative expression. The evolution of temple architecture. As we move toward 1206 CE, two major temple styles emerged. Nagra style, North India. This style is distinguished by the shikhra, curving spire. Notable examples include the Khajuraho temples, built by Chandelas, known for their intricate carvings, and the Lingaraj temple at Bhubaneswar. Dravida style, South India initiated by the Pallavas with rock-cut, rathas, at Mahabalipuram. This style reached its peak under the Cholas. The Brihadiswara temple at Tanjavur is a masterpiece of this style, featuring a massive Vimana, tower, and elaborate gateways, gopurams. Rock-cut architecture and caves. The tradition of rock-cut architecture continued with the magnificent Kailas temple at Ellora, commissioned by the Rashtrakutas. It is a unique monolithic structure carved out of a single hill. The Ajanta caves remained a center for exquisite mural paintings, depicting Jatak stories with vibrant colors and fluid lines. Sculpture and bronzes. Beyond stone, the Chola period is world-renowned for its bronze casting, specifically the Nataraj, Dancing Shiva. These bronzes are celebrated for their mathematical proportions and aesthetic elegance. In northern and eastern India, the Pala school produced fine black stone sculptures of Buddhist and Hindu deities. Conclusion. The art and architecture of this period reflect the socio-religious shifts in Indian society. From the simplicity of early Gupta structures to the grandiosity of Chola and Khajuraho temples, the artistic output between 300 CE and 1206 CE remains testament to India's rich cultural heritage and technical mastery in masonry and metallurgy. Assignment 2. Answer the following in about 250 words each. 3. Discuss the history of conflicts amongst the powers of South India. 10 marks. Answer. The history of South India between 300 CE and 1206 CE was characterized by persistent struggle for regional supremacy among the Pallavas, Chalukyas of Badami, and later the Rashtrakutas and Cholas. The Pallav-Chalukya conflict. The primary rivalry existed between the Pallavas of Kanchi and the Chalukyas of Badami. The main bone of contention was the fertile Vengi region and the control over the Krishnatungabhadra Doab. Pulkeshin II, Chalukya, famously defeated Mahendravarman I, but the Pallavas later retaliated under Narsinghavarman I, who stormed the Chalukya capital, Vatapi. Rise of the Rashtrakutas. By the mid-8th century, the Rashtrakutas replaced the Chalukyas and continued the conflict with the Pallavas and the Western Gangas. They were unique in their ability to intervene in North Indian politics while maintaining dominance in the Deccan. Or Chola dominance. From the 9th century onwards, the Cholas emerged as the supreme power. They eliminated the Pallavas and subdued the Pandyas and Cheras. Under Rajaraja I and Rajendra I, the conflict expanded beyond the mainland to include northern Sri Lanka and the Maldives, securing control over Indian Ocean trade routes. 4. Describe the local administration under Chola. 10 marks. Answer. The Chola local administration is celebrated for its highly organized and autonomous village assemblies. The system was decentralized, allowing villages to function as self-governing units. Types of assemblies. There were two main types of assemblies. A general assembly of tax-paying residents in common villages, and the Sabha or Mahasabha, an exclusive assembly of Brahman adults in Brahmdeya villages. The committee system. Varyans. The Sabha operated through various committees called Varyans. These included the Erivaryam, Tan Committee, Totatvaryam, Garden Committee, and Nyayavaryam, Justice Committee. Election and eligibility. As detailed in the Uttar Mirur inscriptions, members were chosen by a lottery system called Kudvulai. Candidates had to meet strict criteria, including ownership of land, residency in their own house, age between 35 and 70, and knowledge of the Vedas. Autonomy. These assemblies managed land revenue, settled local disputes, maintained roads and irrigation, and managed temple assets with minimal interference from the central government. 5. What are the various views on the origin of Rajput? 10 marks. Answer. The origin of the Rajput is a subject of significant historical debate, with several prominent theories. Agnikula myth. According to the Prithviraj Raso, the Rajput originated from a sacrificial fire, Agnikunda, performed by sage Vashistha on Mount Abu to protect the earth from demons. 4 clans, Pratiharas, Permaras, Chalukyas, and Chauhans, are said to have emerged from this fire. Foreign descent theory. Colonial historians like James Todd argued that Rajput were descendants of foreign invaders like the Scythians, Sakas, Kushanas, and Hunas. They suggested that these martial groups were assimilated into Hindu society through purification, rituals, and assigned Kshatriya status. Kshatriya Brahman descent. Many Indian scholars argue for an indigenous origin, linking Rajput to the ancient Suryavanshi, sun, and Chandravanshi, moon, lineages of the Vedic Kshatriyas. Some inscriptions also suggest a Brahman origin, Vipra, where Brahman families took up arms and eventually transitioned into the ruling class. A social process theory. Modern historians view Rajput as a social category that emerged through a process of Rajputizatio, where various tribal and local ruling groups gained political power and adopted Rajput status during the medieval period. Assignment 3. Answer the following in about 100 words each. Each question carries 6 marks. 6. Pallav-Pandya conflict. The Pallav-Pandya conflict was a defining feature of South Indian politics between the 6th and 9th centuries. Both dynasties competed for hegemony over the fertile Kaveri Delta and the southern regions of the Tamil country. The Pandyas of Madurai frequently challenged the Pallavs of Kanchi, leading to several major battles, such as the Battle of Sripurambiam. This rivalry was not just political but also economic, as both sought control over coastal trade routes. The conflict eventually weakened both powers, creating political vacuum that allowed the imperial Cholas to rise and establish their dominance over the entire Tamil region. 7. Emergence of Tantrism. Tantrism emerged as a significant religious and social force during the early medieval period, permeating Hinduism, Buddhism, and Jainism. It was characterized by the use of mantras, yantras, geometrical diagrams, and rituals focused on the worship of Shakti or the female creative energy. Tantrism often challenged the orthodox Vedic traditions by being more inclusive, allowing participation from all castes and both genders. It emphasized the body as a medium for spiritual liberation and was closely linked to the forest-dwelling communities and folk traditions, which were gradually integrated into the mainstream religious fold through land grants in tribal areas. 8. Property rights of women. In the early medieval period, the property rights of women saw a gradual but limited expansion, primarily through the concept of stridhana. According to legal commentators like Vijnaneswara, author of Mitakshara, woman's right to property included gifts received during marriage and, in some cases, the right to inherit her husband's property if he died without a male heir. However, these rights were often restricted to movable assets like jewelry and clothing. Land ownership remained largely patriarchal, and the actual control over property was often managed by male relatives. Despite these legal provisions, women's economic independence remained subordinate to family interests. 9. Growth of language. The period between 300 CE and 1206 CE witnessed the significant transition from the dominance of Sanskrit to the growth of regional languages. While Sanskrit remained the language of the elite, the royal courts, and religious inscriptions, the Bhakti movement spurred the development of vernacular literatures. In the south, Tamil literature flourished through the hymns of the Alvars and Nayanars. Similarly, Kannada and Telugu began to take shape under royal patronage. In northern India, the Prakrit and Apabhramsha languages evolved into the ancestors of modern Indo-Aryan languages like Bengali, Marathi, and Hindi, making religious and secular knowledge more accessible to the common people. Thus, Shaktism. Shaktism is a major tradition of Hinduism that focuses on the worship of the Divine Mother, or Shakti, as the supreme reality. During the Gupta and post-Gupta periods, Shaktism gained immense popularity, as reflected in texts like the Devi Mahatmya. It portrays the goddess, in forms like Durga, Kali, or Lakshmi, as the power that maintains cosmic order and destroys evil. The rise of Shaktism was closely tied to the integration of local mother goddess cults into the Brahmanical framework. It played a crucial role in the development of temple architecture and the Tantric tradition, emphasizing the female principle as the essential energy of the universe.